Okay.
Okay. We're finally all here. All right, well, tonight I'm going to show you how to do a mirror image, something like this. And this is one of the very first ones that I did, probably in 2016. And I had taken some pictures of a pile of twine, and I realized that was not really that great of a photo to submit to the camera club. So by just taking a small portion of it and copying it and then flipping it, and then flipping that again, I ended up with this kind of abstract that I called string theory. And this was in our first show down at Barrister's. And then I really didn't do this again for a long time until one of our Facebook members, Bink Olney, and he does this all the time using GIMP. And so he kind of got me back into it again. I've been stuck in the house because of the weather. And so sitting at the computer, I could kind of create new images. And one of the things I like about doing this is you can take a photo that really is not that great of a photo like this and crop out a small portion of it. And here I cropped it and then turned it sideways. And then through a bunch of different manipulations, you can end up with kind of an interesting pattern. And something like this, I'm not really sure how the judges would accept this as an entry into Camera Club. And I'll try to show you some images later that probably would work better. Some judges don't really know how to deal with just totally abstract digital. You know, they call them digital art and not photography. So choosing the right subject matter is probably key. And I found that things with bright colors, real hard edge shapes, lines, things that extend off out of the frame make really good subject matter. So I'll take a picture like this of those hot air balloons, and I'll crop just a small portion of it. And sometimes some parts of it might not even be in focus, and that really doesn't matter. And then by flipping it and creating a new piece and then flipping that piece, you can end up with a really wild pattern. And this can go on, and you can get some pretty complicated patterns before you're all finished. And I've had a lot of fun with some of the fireworks photos that we've taken the last couple of years, where we did intentional camera movement to get these abstract shapes. And so I would crop out just a small portion of it. And again, you know, by mirroring it and then mirroring it again, you can get an interesting pattern, and then you can, you know, even make it more interesting. I don't have a lot of flower pictures, but I found a couple, and one of them turned out really neat. So I'm more interested in photographing flowers now. So I just cropped that small piece out and ended up with an image like this. Architectural shapes work really well too. This is a stairway image, and here's one where it's been reproduced 4 times. And then this is another one that took it a little bit further. Faces can be really weird. I'm growing my beard back so I can do more stuff like this. And I'll try to show you how to do some of these things. This was using the distort command in Photoshop. And this one was inspired by a friend's visit to the oral surgeon. This is a small portion of one of my photographs of the Gateway Bridge. And I thought that came out kind of interesting. But the lines, you know, running off the page, I think are what make it fun to connect. And here's one of a rose. And this is one that somebody has already purchased. If you have any pictures of churches, these work really well. I don't have that many. This is one from, I think, a church in Ireland. But because of the color and the strong architectural shapes, you can end up with some really fun images. Here's just a quick collage of some of the simple ones that I've messed around with. And some people might think this is sort of hokey and, you know, fun and something to play with. But if you can learn this technique, you can use it in your photography too. Like here's an image that I just repeated and flipped. So the image on the right is the same as the image on the left. So if you had a row of trees or a row of something, you could extend it even further. So you might be able to use this technique somewhere else. Okay, let's see. So, whoop, let's see. Okay, I created a file here that has some images in it. Like this one here would work really well. This one looks kind of neat, but I think it's a little bit too complicated. I thought this one might be interesting because of the shapes, and I was able to actually make something out of this, but the colors aren't that interesting. So here's a hot air balloon picture, and we'll use this one as an example. So the first thing I would do is crop a section out of this. And hopefully everybody knows how to crop either in Lightroom or Photoshop. But if you can see my cursor, I'm in Lightroom right now, and I'm on the crop tool up here in the upper right. So if I click that, you get a grid. And,
unless you have grids disabled.
oh, you can disable that. Oh, goodness. See, there's way too many things you can do. And right below the crop tool, this little box opened up, the crop box here. And I helped somebody the other day that didn't realize that this thing over here that right now it says original, and there's a little padlock. You can lock the original proportions, or you can go up here to original and you can choose, you know, if you want to make it an 8x10, and you can move it around. And you can also come up here, and for this first one, I would suggest you do a 1x1, and I'll show you, but we're going to flip it, and it's easier to understand if you have a square image. So I'm going to grab a corner here and just crop out a small section of this. Okay, so I might crop that much out of my picture. And you don't have to worry about this being a really tiny picture when you're done, because you're going to repeat this thing several times. So it's actually going to grow in size.
I don't see myself in it. That's fine.
I'm going to choose this. And then if you are in Lightroom, what you do is you go up to the top where it says photo, and you come down to edit in. And here's where you can choose Photoshop or any of the other programs that you might have. But we're going to want to use a program with layers, so I'll pick Photoshop. So my Photoshop is now opening. We have the beach ball of death, as Jan Tennell calls it. Oh, here we go. Okay, now we're in Photoshop. You could also start this process in Photoshop and crop, you know, a 1x1 in Photoshop. The crop tool is over here on the left. And if you want a 1x1 ratio, you just go up here to the top and you type in the 1.
We're still in Lightroom, aren't we?
Oh, you can't see my Photoshop?
Nope.
Nope.
No, I think you may have to re-enter. Isn't that like a new program now?
Oh, I just assumed okay, well, hang on.
Maybe it's underneath your Zoom.
I think it's underneath. I think you just need to get this one out of the way, maybe. We're looking at your screen. Right? Yeah, minimize that. Oops.
But you don't
Talk
see
about a beach ball of death. We got a really cool image now.
Do you see Photoshop?
No,
You see half of your last image, and it's kind of a nice. It's got a nice look to it. Yeah.
I click the resume share. Doggone it.
Think you may have to close this and start it again like you did to get into Lightroom.
You're kidding.
Because I had that problem before where it's the new program. You have to, I don't know what exactly, but Zoom sees it as something new and So you have to re-enter it or something?
Well, I'm trying to see if I can find the Zoom. Oh, here we go. Here's Zoom.
You can mute yourself if you don't want to.
They say, where? I have no idea. I have to do that again.
All I'm getting is resume share. Your screen is paused. Stop. Okay, I'll stop sharing. Now I'll try again.
I wonder if you needed to have had Photoshop open to start with. Now we can
Oh,
see
I
it.
did. So,
Here you are. Now you
okay.
got it.
Photoshop.
All right.
Looking good now.
Okay, so we're in Photoshop, and I know people that are going to be doing this are going to have different versions of Photoshop, or they might even have, elements. So things might look a little bit different. And the different panels that you can have open can vary. Like right now I don't know if you can see my mouse over here. I have the layers panel open. I mean, there's the channels panel, the history panel. All you really need is the layers panel open. And up on the top, I have a navigator panel open. I don't usually use that, but when I was helping somebody the other day, I thought it was kind of helpful because they could more quickly expand and contract their desktop using that. I usually use a key command, which, but this works too. Okay, so here's my image. And the first thing I'm going to do is go up to the top to select, the word select. And I'm going to select all. That'll put the marching ants around your image. And most of the stuff we're going to do is under the edit command. So I've got this selected. I come over here to edit and come down to copy. It immediately copies this image. You can make these little ants go away by using the command or control D, but you don't even have to for this. You can just leave them there. So I've copied it. Make sure I did that. And then I'm going to come down to paste. And right away, if you look over in the layers panel, you should see two images that are the same. One says background and the top one says layer 1. Okay, so basically we just have one image on top of another. So I'm going to go back over to the edit panel or edit menu, sorry. Come down to transform and over and down, and I'm going to flip this horizontally. So now if you look in your layers panel, you can see your two images, but one of them has been flipped. So what I want to do is slide this image off to the side. Now there are other ways to do this, but I thought this was kind of an easy way for somebody who's doing it the first time. You want to make sure you have your move tool selected up here on the right or up on the left in your tools panel. So it looks like a little, cross with arrows on the end of them. And I'm going to grab a hold of the side of this image. Don't grab this box. Like if you grab this box and start sliding it, this is what happens. Okay. Instead, just hold your cursor out here somewhere. Hold down the shift key, which will be constrains it. So you can't slide it off, up or down. You can only slide it to the right here or the left. You can go either way. And I'm going to get over here to the edge, and I don't want to go all the way off. I want to stay on just a little bit. Okay. Now you can't see the image anymore, but it's there. So what I'm going to do is go up to image at the top. Whoop. Okay. And come down to this reveal all and click that. And immediately it shows you everything on your desktop. And sometimes it's nice to be able to see if you mated the two images up really well. So I'm going to just click out in this dark space out here so I can see And I can even zoom in if I want, and make sure I don't have a white line down through the middle. And that'll happen to you. And I'll on the next one, I'll do that so you can see how to fix that. Okay, so now I have 2 layers over here on the right in my layers panel. And I want to combine them. So I'm going to go up to layer at the top and come down to, I could do merge visible or I can do flatten. And I'm going to do flatten. So now when you look at my layers panel, I have just 1 layer. And then we're just going to repeat the same thing that we've already done. I'm going to go to select, choose all. Okay, I'm going to go over here to, my mouse is kind of not rolling very well here. I'm going to copy it. Okay. Then I'm going to, doggone it, my mouse is not rolling very well. I'm going to paste it. And now you can look over in the layers panel, and again, you can see 2 layers over there. Okay, over here. Okay.
Don't see 'em.
So I want to make sure I'm on the top layer, and that the top layer is the one highlighted. And I'm going to go back to edit, come down to transform. This time I'm going to flip it vertically. Okay, then I'm going to make sure I'm in the move tool. I'm going to hold down the shift key, grab a hold of it, and just slide it down here to the end. I can go a little bit further, I think. Whoop. Whoop. Okay, this one, maybe I went too far. We'll see. Then I'm going to go up to image, reveal all. And again, I'm going to just click out in this dark space. Just see, oh, here, this is a good one. Okay, here's an example of, I didn't mate these up very well. Okay. So what I have to do is slide that bottom one up again. So I'm going to click on this bottom one, make sure I have those little boxes around the edges. I'm going to hold down the shift key and I'm going to slide this up, and I'm going to kind of try over again, see if I can get it to meet better. Okay. Now it meets. The problem is that white space is now at the bottom. So what you have to do is crop that out. Okay. So what I'm going to do is turn this into 1 layer. So I come up to the layers panel. I'm going to flatten it. And then I have to come over to the crop tool. And I'm going to slide this down just a hair because I can't see the top of the screen. There we go. The crop tool is not really going to work until I click on it. So I'm going to click on it and then kind of try to move this up just a little bit. And I've done this. I mean, I'll do it 2 or 3 times sometimes. I'm afraid I don't move it far enough. I'm going to go just a teeny bit further. There we go. To actually crop something, you have to come up to the top and click this little check mark to say, yes, I accept this crop. And for this particular process, you want to have delete crop pixels checked. For a lot of other things you do in Photoshop, you might not want that. But for this one, you want that. So I'm going to click that. Whoop. See, I didn't crop far enough. I have to do it again. Okay, so now that's gone. Okay, so what we've got over here in the layers panel is 1 layer. And I want to repeat that layer. I want to get, whoop, I'm trying to move my screen up here a bit. I want to get another one of those. And there's several different ways you can do it. You can do the Command or Control D, which is what I usually do, or you can take this and slide it down to this little plus mark, which makes a new layer, kind of copies it and does the same thing. So if I turn off the lower layer, you see the top one looks exactly the same. Okay, so what I'm going to do is make sure the top layer is the one that's highlighted, that's active. And I'm going to go up to edit. And I'm going to come down to transform. And I'm going to go over here and I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees.
Ooh.
So now when you look over in your layers panel, you've got the two images, but one of them has been turned. Now here's where it can get to be a lot of fun. And this is just the beginning of what you can do. Make sure that top layer is highlighted and you go up to this little box here that says normal. This is the blend mode. And this is the cool part of Photoshop. Click on this and all these choices come down. And you can slowly go through these choices. And you see what it just did? From normal to darken. Hopefully everybody's seeing that. And you can go through every one of these. And you can save every one if you want. Every option, every alternative. And the thing is, once you save one, say, let's pretend you save this one, and it goes back into Lightroom or Photoshop, you can go back and then saturate this more, darken it, vignette it, do anything you want. But there's all sorts of really cool, difference is always one of the really cool ones, I think. Okay, so what I would do first, okay, now that you've got these two done, first thing I would do is save it. Come up to File. I like to do Save As because when I click it, it shows me where it's going to go. If you just say save, it'll save it wherever, from wherever you opened it. But here I can see, okay, it's going to go into this folder. And a lot of times I have to write the folder down so I can find the darn thing later. So I'm writing it down. And I'll just save this. And I always save it as a TIFF. You can save it as other things, but down here you could save it as a Photoshop document if you want, but TIFF works well. So I'm going to save that. And down here in the lower corner, there's a little box that says saving 99%. As soon as that's done, I can go over here and choose one of these things. I'm going to choose difference because I think this is kind of cool. And then I can go back up here, save as. I don't want to just say save because it'll write over your last one. I'm going to do save as. And I'm going to go into this title up here and click backspace and change that to a 4. If you do that, make sure you put the number on the left side of the little period. Don't get it on the side where the word TIFF is. And whoop. Okay, it says that something already exists with this. So I'm going to go back and change this to a 5. Let's see what happens. I think I used this picture once before or something. So I'm going to go ahead and go. I'll put a number in a different place. Here we go. And then you can just save each one of those if you like them. Anything you like, you can save it. I've done as many as 12, in one thing. Okay, let's see. I'm going to go back to my first one here. Now here's something else you can do. And if you don't have Topaz or any of those other programs, you can go into Photoshop and use any of your adjustment tools. So if I went into Photoshop and I'm going to pick color balance, and I'm going to just change this so things are a different color. I'm not sure which ones I like here. Let's see. Okay. So I just changed that. And then I could go back. Now, You might want to combine these two things, like this one, this layer. Hold down the shift key and click that. So I've got two layers selected. Go up to the word layer and
What?
merge those two.
Oh, merge.
So I just have two layers. Now that's the one underneath. This is the one on top. And then I can go in here and go through these again, and all these patterns will have changed. So there's all sorts of cool things you can do. Something else you can do with that top layer, I'm going to go up to filter, and you could come down to distort. And under distort, I kind of like using this polar coordinates. And right now this is clicked on rectangular. It's going to do something weird to that top layer. And then when I go back to the blend modes, all of a sudden my patterns are totally different. And a lot of them are kind of dark. So if I was going to save them, I'd probably lighten them up.
John, I don't know if you want to do this with too much wine. It's
Yeah, it'll take you back to the 60s or something like that.
far out.
Yeah.
The
Now I'm going to
question-
undo
sorry.
this so it goes back to the pattern I had to start with.
I have a
No.
question for you when you have a chance, John.
Oh, sure. Well, you go ahead and ask me now.
Well, can you back up? Is every move you make just stacked, if you will? Can you back up one step and undo the last edit you did? Does it destruct your previous picture?
Well, in Photoshop, you can undo several times. I suppose it depends on the version you have. I don't know how many times I can do it.
Okay,
But I'm going to undo by hitting Command D or Command Z.
yeah, it'd be, yeah, that's, okay,
So there I am back, and I can,
okay.
so you can go back and back and back several times if you want. But if you get something you like, I would save it, save as. If you happen to have any other programs under filter, like I use this one called Topaz quite a bit. So I could come down under filter and go to Topaz. It kind of warns me I'm going to use Topaz. And I got to move this over just a little bit. There's a lot of things you can do with Topaz under the filter. But I'm just going to go to this thing that says add a look because it's quick. So here's some of the ways that my picture might look.
We cannot see the topaz.
Oh, darn it. Well, then we're going to forget Topaz. Okay. But I'd have to redo this whole thing again, I guess. Darn it. Okay. I'm going to get out of Topaz. How do I do this? Let me do one, and then I think it's going to come back into Photoshop. You'll be able to see. Okay, so are we back in Photoshop?
Yes.
Looks
Yes.
like it.
And you guys can see the weird
Mhm.
image there? Okay, that was done in Topaz. So now when I go through these images, like, see, that one's pretty cool, I think. So anything you can do to that top image, I'll go down here to difference. I always like that one. Woo, that's cool. All right. So I'm not gonna bother to save. Well, I'll save that one because I do kind of like that one. So I'm gonna go here to save as, and I'm gonna change that number again so I don't save it over my other one. Okay, now I was gonna go back into Lightroom and get a different image, but I'm kind of worried. I can't remember what happened when I hit stop share. Okay. Let's try this again. I'm going to open Lightroom. Or maybe it's already open. Yep. Sorry. No. Yeah.
Are you gonna publish your hints on how to do this?
Oop. Sure. You know what?
Everybody got them in the email a couple days ago, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
From Dorothy.
Yeah. I'll have to
Yeah.
double check because I haven't seen it
They're
yet.
right here.
They
We all
came
got 'em.
today, too.
Say that again?
I sent the email out today, so you should have had it.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So I'm back in Lightroom, right? You guys can see that?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And here's one of the ones I just saved. And in Lightroom, I always do this. I come up here to library. Well, I'm gonna do this from the grid view, I think. Okay, I will select this image. It's done. I like it. I'm going to put 4 stars on it. I usually star my things 1 if I think they have some potential, 2 if I did a little bit, 3 if I did quite a bit, and then 4 if I like it and I want to keep it. I mean, this is finished. Then I'll go make sure I'm in the library module. And I got to slide this over. And I'll slide up to where I can see this keywording box. See where it says keywording right here? And I'll put in a keyword. So I'm going to put a comma, and I've been calling these mirror images. So now I will be able to find that anytime I want. I don't have to know what folder it's in or anything. Same thing on this one. I'm going to come over here and Lightroom tries to guess at what I'm going to name it. And then I can find it really easily. Okay. I was going to, how we doing on time here? Okay. I was going to do another one, but maybe I'll go through some of these real quick. Okay. Here's a staircase. And here's something that was made with that staircase. And a lot of times you have no idea what it started out as. This image of a flag has worked really well. And again, it's got those simple, hard shapes, bright colors. Here's an example with it. Another one, and another one, and another one. And even that one was from the flag. Sometimes you'll do one and the image just doesn't work. Like I thought, well, maybe this will be interesting. I don't think so. I'm not, that one's not doing much for me.
Hey, John,
Yeah.
back on the staircase, how did you get the image with all the colors next to it?
Yeah,
when you mirrored it,
there we go.
when you mirrored it, now you have a bunch of colors. Where did they come from?
I probably got those in Topaz by changing the colors of the image.
Okay.
You can kind of see if you hold your hands up, and just pick the top quarter of the picture. You might be able to tell that looks like maybe the staircase. But then you change the colors. And since it's kind of a hassle to go between the 2 programs, we'll try it again. But here's an image. I thought, well, this probably won't work very good. Let's see, am I all the way? I guess I am. But when I crop that much of it, let me see if I can get this. I don't think this is showing up all of it. Let's see. There we go. And we're only flipping things twice tonight, but you can flip them and keep adding to your image until you make a giant quilt if you want to. And here's that same image.
Yes.
Whoop. I don't know if I can make it a little bigger. There we go. And I don't know if I want to take time. I mean, I don't want to get people lost. But if I could get back into Photoshop, I could show you how to, create a little border around things if you wanted to too.
How did you get the brown, not just on the border, but the brown or gold that's in the picture?
Probably in topaz by just, changing the palette colors and stuff. Well, let's see if we can do another one here. I'll try picking this one. Now, I'm going to take this into Photoshop, and then I'll probably have to stop sharing and then share again. So let's see. Since I'm in Lightroom, I'm going to go up here to Photo and come down to Edit in Photoshop. So my Photoshop program is opening up. You probably can't see it, so I am going to stop sharing. And then I'm going to make sure Photoshop's open in the background here. Let's see. Okay. Whoop. Now I lost everybody. Okay, there you go. Okay. So now we're back in Photoshop. I'm just going to get rid of that little box. I was looking for the letter D when we were in Ireland. I was trying to spell out the word Ireland with different images from Ireland. So I did this to get the letter D, but the other day I kind of tried it and it was kind of a fun one to try to make a mirror image with. So the first thing I would do if you're starting in Photoshop is probably crop this differently. So I'm going to select this crop tool over here. And I'm going to, let's see. I think, oh, it's set. See up here in the top, I put 1:1 in here. You can clear this and you can crop this any way you want. It doesn't have to be a square. Okay. You can end up with a totally different shaped image. I'll do this one a little differently. I'm trying to get things touching the edges. So I'll end up with an interesting image. Now I want to rotate this just a little bit. Okay. Okay, I'm going to, if I can find the little check mark. At the top, there's a check mark. So I'm going to click that and accept that crop. So now we're just going to go through all those steps again. Oh, you know what? I don't want that. I want to crop it here. There we go. Okay, so we're going to go through all those steps again that are pretty simple and they're on that sheet of paper. I'm going to select all of it, get the marching ants around it, come over here to edit, copy it, paste it, then look over in my layers panel and make sure I have 2 layers with the same image in it. And then I'm going to go over here to edit and I'm going to come down to transform. And you could do horizontal or vertical. You just kind of have to decide what it is you want to do. I'm going to do horizontal. Okay. Whoop. Then I'm going to get my move tool and come up here and hold down the shift key. So when I do this, and then go to image, reveal all, and you can see everything. And again, I like to click out in the field out here just to see what happens. I don't really like this funny little thing here, but I'm going to just leave it for now. And then I'm going to make sure you got to make sure you know which layer you're on. So I got to come back. Oh, I know. This is what I got to do. So yeah, I'm already forgot. I'm going to come up here to layer and I'm going to flatten this image. Basically, I ended up with the same window, didn't I?
Yeah.
Okay, then we're going to go through the whole thing again. We're going to select all. We're going to copy it and paste it. And where's that? Transform.
Got to move it. Oh, transform.
There we go. And then I'm going to hold down the shift key and drag this thing down. And the place you'll go wrong is if you pull it too far. I mean, then you have to do some cropping and stuff. Okay, I'm going to come back to image, reveal all. And now I've ended up with this. And then I'm going to combine those two layers so this becomes one image. So it's going to be flattened. Then I want to make another one of that same image. And I do it by doing Command J, but you can drag it down to that. Drag it down to this little plus mark here if you want. And then what I got to do is do something different to this top image. So, because right now you couldn't tell me if I turned the top image off, the bottom image is practically the same. So I could try going up to filter and coming down to distort. And let's see. We'll see what this one does again. I like this one. And I can end up with a really odd image on top and then go through those blend modes again. See if anything, you know, like that's kind of cool. Okay. Or I'm going to undo that one. I'm not a real, you know, not real fond of that. I wish I could take this into Topaz real easily. How many people here have Topaz? Anybody?
I do.
don't know.
Jan does.
I do.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
okay.
do.
Well, I can take it into Topaz. You just can't see this happen, okay? Because I'm just going to go in and change it and pick some weird different color thing. And then when it comes back, you'll see. I'm going to add a look here. Let's see. Whoop. Okay, less. Okay, I'll just pick this one here rather than spend too much time. Okay. Okay, so this came back into Photoshop. That's the top layer. That's what's underneath. And now when I go through the blend modes, I'm going to get a more drastic change, I hope. I'm not. All I'm doing is seeing the different colors. Okay. Well, let me go up and distort it some then. Let's try this sphereize thing here. Let's do this. Is it going to look any different now? Well, not a lot. But you can see how you can get different colors though. Evelyn, you're kind of asking about different colors.
Yeah.
I probably picked a bad image here because basically it's, you know, there's not too much different about it.
What if you squished it?
Well, you know, I don't know about, well, you know, there's a lot of weird things you can do. I'll tell you what, I could grab these corners and drag this thing out. I don't know if I'm going to have to guess at the middle, I guess here. That's pretty close. Okay. And then I'm going to have to crop this. Oops, I can't see my crop tool there. Okay, so now that, whoop, what happened? Oh, I went back to Lightroom. There we go. Now the top image is really different from the bottom one. So now when I go through these, I'm going to get a little different kind of an effect. So I don't know if this is making enough sense. There's a good one. That one came out kind of neat. that probably wasn't the best example to use, huh? All right.
Just let me tell you, John, that's a better example of something you've done that none of us can do yet.
Yeah.
Oh, you'll be able to, don't worry. Another thing you might do, when you're working, you might come up to the word image at the top, come down to image size and see how big your image is. If you start out with a very large crop and then you flip it 4 times, you're going to end up with a really big file. Like this one here is 13 by 13. It's almost 14 by 14. But I'm going to get rid, I don't like this top image. I'm just going to get rid of that. There we go. I could select this and then paste it. Whoop. What do I do? How come I'm not getting all of this? Copy and paste. Okay. Now I could just grab this, I think. Hold down the shift key, slide this thing over. Hopefully I got it to where it's going to reveal all. And then I could take this and flatten those 2 things. Then I could select all of this image. It's got the marching ants around it. Copy it. Paste it. Hold down my shift key. Drag this.
Hey, John?
Uh-huh.
John?
Yeah.
Oh, one thing, when you have that little white line, instead of trying to drag that whole crop up and down, you can use your up and down arrows and just move it in
That's right. You're right.
little increments.
That is smart. That's smart. I'll have to try that tomorrow.
Yeah.
So anyway, now I've got an image that is 27 by 27. So you kind of have to be careful. You can end up with a really huge image, and then it's kind of takes longer to save it, and you can have some other difficulties. But you could do
What
this.
if you did just the face of, say, your dog?
Oh yeah, you could do anything.
What would that be like?
Well,
Do you have any?
I don't of the dog, but did you see the images in the beginning?
No,
I did.
I hadn't turned on yet.
Oh, okay.
Depends on your dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, ours is just the cutest one
Yeah.
there is, but I'd sure like to see how.
Yeah. Now,
Right.
if I thought I could jump back and forth more easily, let me go grab an image in Lightroom. You won't see me do this, okay? I'm just going to go grab something. Oh, what'll I grab? I'll grab, this one right here. Okay. Whoop. I'm trying to get a picture. I just grabbed the first thing that popped up. Okay, now can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so I could grab this. I could select all of this and copy it. And then at the top, if you've never had more than one Photoshop document open at once, up here at the top, right where above where my mouse is, there's my old image of those wheels. I can now copy that flag onto this. I know it's kind of small because I made this one real small, but I could just grab these corners and fill this. And now, well, I gotta accept it by checking up there. You can start combining images. And this is where it gets really cool. And this is where I'm at now, combining figures and other images into some of my compositions. And you just never know what you're going to get. That's kind of cool.
Like that.
The other thing you can do, I mean, I hate to show you too much because you're going to get confused, but I could turn off this padlock over here. And I could take that top layer and just slide it underneath the bottom one. Then I'm going to go back and select the top one. And when I go through these, I'm going to get, some different images. But you can do this. I'll try to go back to Lightroom and show you some faces. But this just, I mean, it's like, this is addictive though. I got to warn you. I mean, I have over 300 images of these things. I don't know what to do. And I can sit down at the computer and I go, I wonder what happened if I do this. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing this one. I'm not going to bother to save any of this stuff here. So, okay, I want to come back to my Lightroom and whoop, first I got to find Zoom. Okay. And here were some of the images I showed at the beginning. And here's a face image. Whoop. So you could do your dog. You never know what you're going to get until you do it. I have not done a dog yet, but I'll try it. Okay. And I could show you these on and on and on, but if you miss this, Evelyn, you have a lot of really cool flowers. And flowers can be really a neat image to work with. You just have to crop out a small section of it.
I'll try it.
Yeah. And I showed this. This was a church, a little crop from a church. And there's an image from the church. It has nice structure. There's some color. And I don't know, does anybody else have any kind of questions? Because I could show you stuff forever. I don't want to go too long.
Well, one thing
John?
go ahead.
When I do the distort, I get these geometric rectangles inside my square or whatever I'm doing. With the lines are just kind of not too noticeable, but there. Have you had that?
I don't know. When I've even started drawing on my images before I start flipping them. And I found that's really interesting too. So, I don't know what it is you're getting, but I'll try to, if anybody has
Well,
any.
I'll send you an example of one of these.
Okay.
Maybe tomorrow.
And if anybody wants to do some of this and they're having trouble with it, let me know. Because I've already gotten online with one person and helped them do this. Let's see if I can find anything here that's here's one I did the other day that I really liked. Whoop, it's too big. There we go. But I was trying to do a composite. So I've added kind of my shadow right here. And I've added some numbers. But the background is just two different images that were put together. I can come up with another one here that's kind of, well, here's that that church again, but composited, together differently. here's one of some trees. And then somewhere in here, I put that one over my face. Where the heck? Oh, here we go. I don't know which one of these is the finished version. But those are the trees over my face.
Ugh.
Yeah. I have made some kind of creepy things, but you know.
It doesn't look,
Enhances your beard.
it doesn't look human, does it, Jan?
No.
And I mean, it's just fun, you know, fun to mess around with. I don't know if there's any here that are, oh, this one, you probably saw this one, but this was a portion of that dragon at the Chinese Lantern Festival. It was just a little part of that. You can see its tooth right in here. So that was just flipped over and over again.
Yeah, that got a lot of comments on Facebook.
Yeah, it was a little more, you know, colorful and, you know, I mean, I don't know which one of these is the one I finally, I decided.
And it has
here.
teeth.
This is
Okay,
almost,
I have another question,
Sure.
John. You turn one of these in for critiquing at the club, for instance, and you get a judge that has no idea what you're doing.
yeah.
How do you handle that?
Well, I realize that these are not,
Well, we'll just
they're
have
more
Lynn do
digital,
all of it.
they're more digital artwork. So I think some judges are not going to really, you know, like them or score them very well. Now, if they can tell what it is and they can see that that was a photo, they might have a better job than if you turned in something like that.
Yeah, but I like that.
Yeah, I do
think
too. So I don't know. I
I
mean,
think I would just find a group to enter those abstracts in and not put them in a judging situation.
yeah, I think it'd be hard
Yeah.
because, you know, it is different, you know, than now some things, some things might work because you can kind of tell what that is. So that's kind of a photograph, you know, but when it gets really complicated, I think that one was made out of that first one.
Mhm.
And this is another one of it, maybe there. And I like that, but that, you know, I think they would have a hard time with those, even though they started with that same hook. So, okay, I mean, I could show you stuff forever, but I better stop. Okay, I don't want. Oh, one more. This is one I did today. And I really like this one. I'm going to print this one, I think. Whoop, I can't make it bigger. There it is.
What's the title?
That is the part that I am just not any good at. I have to rely on David Powers or Carl Barentine on our Facebook page, who comes up with great titles. So, all right. So I should probably stop. Is there, as I mentioned, if anybody has a question or wants to get together and do this just one-on-one, I'd be happy to do it. So,
John,
yeah.
I think the images would be easy to give a score, but very hard to critique.
Yeah, because you don't know what the artist's intention is.
Right.
It's a little bit different.
This center one right here with the blues and the greens and the reds, you know, that looks really cool to me.
Yeah.
I'll come
And
down.
the sunflowers.
Yeah. Now this one is some, that's actually a water tower down in, I don't know, some little town south of here. And you might be able to figure it out if you looked at it long enough, but I don't know. Okay.
John, could you show us again how you drag the two layers so that they are side by side?
Oh, back in Photoshop. Okay, let's see. Let me find something I can do this with. Okay. Okay, so we'll see photo. Okay, I'm going to take this to Photoshop. but I'm going to have to stop sharing this screen for a minute. Okay. Now my Photoshop is open. Okay. So how to do what again now, Lynn? Just put one more
You
beside.
you had those two layers and they were identical, I think. You
Yeah.
dragged one so that they were side by side, or
Oh, okay. Well,
so-
it's basically
yeah.
the same thing we've been doing. You just have to, you know, pick one of the layers and say select all, and then copy it and paste it. And let's see, I'll move this one and I'll do it again here. I'll show you. Okay.
So did you have to make your canvas bigger to have space to put that
Nope,
in?
nope, all I have to do is I've got two layers over here right now. You know, and I meant to do this differently, but this will be okay. I'm going to put this also, it's just one layer.
By flattening?
Yeah. Then I'm going to select it again. So, you know, select this one. I'm going to copy it and paste it. And this time I'll just slide this one down to the bottom. And reveal all. I'm going to make this smaller. Now, I still have something on the clipboard. So if I copy again, it's going to place another image. It placed it right there in the middle.
Mhm.
So you can just, oh, here's a good example. Here's one where I've got the little white space, like Tim was saying. So if I click on this and just,
Nudge it.
did it do it? Yeah, it bumped it down. But then you always have to crop this stupid thing off at the top. But if you wanted to, you'd have to flatten this image. And I could select all of this one. You can go on and on and on with this. And paste. And I mean, we could just keep going if you wanted to. But you do, again, you want to go up there to that image and see how big of an image you have. Like I've got something that's like 41 by 43 images or 43 inches now.
But you
can hang it at
resize
City
right
Hall.
there. If you want it to be 15 inches, just put in 15.
Yeah, you could make it smaller if I wanted to. If I didn't want this thing to be so huge, you know, maybe I'll make it 20. And this thing, that little chain has been selected. So when I changed the top one, it changed the bottom one. Makes it a little more manageable size-wise. And if you want to crop that little white line off, you have to select the crop tool. And you have to come over here and actually click on the crop.
Jeez.
Because it won't do anything unless you click on it. I don't know if I got rid of it or not. Okay, I did. Let's see. I'm going to flatten this one. And if there's still people listening, I mean, you know, if you're there, I'll go ahead and show you something else. This is kind of a neat thing to know how to do if you don't know how to do it. I'm going to unlock this background layer. And then down here at the bottom, I'm going to select this little plus mark. So that's a new layer. And there's nothing on that layer. You just see right through it. But I'm going to grab it and pull it below the top one. Okay. And then I'm going to go up to image. And most of you know, like the image size, that just like we just looked at it, told us what size our image was. But the canvas is something else. That's the space beneath your image. And this is this, how many pixels this image is right here. I'm going to change pixels to percent because it's just easier to work with for me. And I'm going to click, oh, I'll put a 4 right there. Whoop. All right, 104%. 104%. Now see what happened? I'm going to come in a little bit closer. That is the canvas underneath my image. And it's right now it's empty. That's why it's just those little checkerboards. But I could fill that with a color. So let's say I wanted that red right there. I could choose this little eyedropper, come over here and click red. And now you can see how red is down here in it's my foreground color.
Mhm.
So I can go up to edit and come down to fill. And you got to make sure you're on the empty layer there, that bottom one, and say fill. I'm going to choose the foreground layer and I could make a border around my image. And if I don't like that color, I could change it to something else. You can just, you know, I'll pick this red and let's say maybe I'll pick blue. Whoop, I can't see there we go. I could come, as long as I'm still on this bottom layer, this one that's red, I could come up here and say fill. I'm going to choose the foreground layer. I could make it another color. So it's a neat way to add like something to the outside of your image if you want to, a line around it. Is that making sense at all?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And you can keep going. I could make a new layer, put it on the bottom, and go up to edit. Oh, wait a minute. What am I going up to? Image. Canvas size. Okay. Maybe I'll make this one just like just a teeny line. Now I have that little blank area around there, and I could change this and I could fill it with something else. Now I've got white around it. This is kind of a nice feature to know if you have a really odd sized picture, but you want to print it at Costco and they don't make that size picture. You just add white around it and choose a larger size image and you'll get your picture with a whole lot of white around it, and then you can cut it off. Okay, well, that's too much. I'm going to stop sharing. Come back and see you guys again, wherever you are. Okay, I can see you. I don't know if you can see me.
Thanks, John.
Okay, well,
Very interesting.
I'm glad most of you are still here.
Judy's gonna hate it because I'm Ari. Shut up.
Oh, is that Ari barking?
Yeah, that's Ari. Yes.
Should have everybody who has a dog, I'll get him in the room and see if we can get them all barking at the same time or something. Okay, well.
Mine's been barking just outside the
Yeah.
door.
Now all you have to do is put music to those images.
We know somebody's been chatting with me here, but I haven't been able to read anything. So I don't know if some of you guys know that chat feature that's at the bottom, but you can send people messages. You just have to be careful if you do that during a judging that it's going to the right person. Yeah. Because somebody sent one once to the wrong person. I got it.
To everybody, wasn't that stupid?
It wasn't anything bad, but it was like, I thought, oh, that's kind of weird.
Well, I think what we should do, John, is after print night, after the prints are judged, why don't we just have a share? We'll have people share what they've created.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Like that.
And no judging, just share them and talk about them if you want.
Yeah. Only problem we might have is everybody trying to take turns sharing screens. As much
Well,
trouble as
maybe-
I had with it.
Maybe we could just send them all to you and you can share them.
Well, people could do that. Yeah. Yeah, you can do that. And I'll figure out a way to share them. I'll put them in Lightroom or something. And then it'd be easier if one person shared them. That would be easier.
Yeah, I would think.
Okay,
So
well,
if anybody's interested, now that you know the basics, you can go out and play with it. My wife is going to hate me because I'm going to be staying up till 3 a.m. doing this. But it looks
It's
fun,
fun.
John. I think I'm going to get addicted.
okay. Well, I hope everybody at least tries it. And if you at least practice some of those things, you might not like the weird art abstract stuff, but you might be able to use those techniques in a regular photograph, like the copying and pasting and, some of those other things. So just a good way to practice.
And there's a lot of other distortion tools you didn't try.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It goes on and on. So.
Good way to get familiar with layers too.
Right.
That's true.
Yep.
Well, okay. That's it.
It was very, very nice. Thank you so much.
Thank you, John.
Thank you,
See if
John.
we can do any of it now.
Thanks, John.